This is the Dog Savant podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant podcast. Today is episode 71. My name is Brett Endies. I am a professional dog trainer. The reason for this podcast is to share my experience as a professional dog trainer for 25 years to help you if you're a dog owner seeking advice or tips or help with your dog if you need training or struggling with behavioral issues. If you're someone who has been failed by the purely positive movement and want to get sound, rational advice that works, that is best for your dog. If you're a client and you'd like supplemental information, of course, this podcast is for you to help complement the work that we're doing in the real world. And if you're working with a good quality trainer and you just want to supplement the information and get another trainer's perspective to help with what you're doing, this podcast is all for you guys. So please keep listening. Please keep subscribing, sharing. I always ask you to do that. I've been getting some more reviews and ratings. I love it. And that is really the only way this podcast is going to grow. I don't market it. It's really just I put it out there and let the cards fall where they do. And it's been getting some good feedback. It's not growing at the level that I feel is worth doing this on a regular basis. But like I told you a few episodes ago, I'm going to still try to do this somewhat consistently. I'll try to make them as regular as possible. If this gains more momentum, it'll be a motivator to put this out more frequently. But nonetheless, thank you, everyone. And if you're, of course, a new listener, welcome. I always advise you to go listen to the back catalog of episodes. There's a lot of good information, A to Z, whatever the subject is related to dog training or behavior problems you may be having with your dogs. I think that I'm just putting it out there so that it can help you if you are a dog owner with these issues. Okay, so let's see here. What are we going to talk about today? As the past couple episodes have gone, I have notes again. I find they're very helpful. They keep me on track. They help with my anxiety of what the hell am I going to talk about, and it keeps things in order and gives me some go-tos for the topics of discussion on this podcast. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about puppy training myths. So I've done episodes on puppy training and basic subjects related to puppies. I'm going to give you some myths because as you hear me say, and this is not my opinion, this is what many, many unrelated people tell me in the real world that they hear, read, I see with my own eyes versus what is really going on, what you should do, what the approach is to train or deal with a puppy struggling with behavioral issues or training challenges. Bad information is out there. There's a lot of people who are armchair dog trainers who have nothing but time on their hands. They sit there and pump this shit out on the internet. They feel so strongly about their purely positive agenda. They'll speak it with passion. They'll vilify anyone other than them. And there's a few people that slip through the cracks and buy this nonsense. So I want to just dispel some of the puppy myths. And it's not only from the purely positive. This just might be the way that some people just assumed it should be, or what they heard, or what someone told them, or what they thought their parents did when they were a kid, right? So it's not always driven by the purely positive agenda, but reality is most shit dog training information and advice is completely given by those type of people. Okay, anyway, moving on. Puppy training myths. All right, I just got a list, not in any particular order. I'm just going to say what I wrote and then try to elaborate a bit. You should start training at 4 to 6 months. No, you should start training the day that puppy is born. If you're a breeder, you're already doing imprinting, you're already getting them used to the crate, socializing them. Whatever it is, you're instilling good habits from the moment they come out of the womb. Now, as a puppy owner, you're usually going to get your new dog between 8 and 12 weeks. You do not wait till they're 4 to 6 months to start doing any kind of training. There is potty training. There is basic leash training. There is basic commands. There's just socialization exercises you can do. All of this is already, for those 2 months that you might have just let the dog do what they do, you're already creating consistent good habits that by 4 to 6 months, you're already moving on to advancing them, building up potty training skills, building commands, making them more applied in real life situations, holding duration, building distance, adding recalls. These are all things, if you start training right away, the learning process, the brain is like a sponge. When it's young, it's just constantly taking in stimuli and making associations, and you want to make the right connections as early as possible. And even more so if you have a challenging puppy, who I know, like my Rottweiler, Bowie, he was a really tough puppy. I had to be on that shit from the moment I picked him up. Otherwise, it would have been a nightmare by the time he outgrew his will. And luckily, we got that all reined in, and he's the best dog ever. And he's very spatial aware, and he knows his size. And He's a great social, happy dog, but it took a lot for him. Now, other puppies that I've had, like Bear, the dog I had in the past, he was so low reaction. I mean, it was just a little bit of socialization, commands that he would just, okay, I guess I'll listen to you. And that was it. Bowie was defiant. Bowie was a dominant dog, or is a dominant dog, and Bowie liked to give me some pushback, which made him more fun and challenging. But if you have a dog like that, you got to be on this shit, because you're gonna go many rounds with them if you don't establish rules, leadership, structure, and just basic regiments for their day ASAP. All right, hope that made sense. All puppies should be spayed neutered. Now, in some cases, that would be beneficial if you have a male that can be around females in season, or your dog has developed aggression, or your vet sold you on it, whatever it is. It's fine. Neuter your dog. One of my dogs isn't neutered. I've never seen a problem with that, other than some other dogs may react to him by sensing he's different. But you go to other countries, and most of the dogs are not neutered, and it's not like they have an epidemic of behavior problems. It's just, I think it's more of a cultural thing that has become just the norm. I'm not going to skew any owner one way or the other, but what I do recommend is to not do it too soon, to wait at a minimum 6 months or more, usually closer to a year for a male dog to get neutered. Female, usually after going into heat once or twice, is my understanding is what's best before you spay them. I also find as a dog trainer, when I come into a dog that was spayed or neutered like right away because they were born, let's say, in a no-kill shelter, or they just needed to do it preventatively. It wasn't like they got him from a breeder or adopted him young and then took the time to wait. Sometimes you get a dog that could be a little bit like a eunuch. The dog Bear I had mentioned was a little bit like that. He was born as a litter of puppies in a shelter back in New York. And great dog. He was good, but I think a big part of why he was so low reaction was they took away his gusto too soon. But anyway, not all puppies need to be spayed or neutered. Otherwise, they're going to develop aggression and cancers and all that. That's really the myth I'm trying to explain here. I think generally you do it, it's fine. It's not a huge thing. But if you did keep your dog intact, don't think it's a recipe for something to go wrong. All right, it's a big one for me. Puppies should start on pee pads and shouldn't be crated. That is complete and utter nonsense. With pee pads, you're teaching dogs to target an indoor spot to go to the bathroom. You're teaching them to go in the house conditioning-wise, which is not a good habit to start forming at any point in their life. And you're also teaching them to just go whenever they want instead of learning how to start holding it for even an hour at a time, so they can develop these skills as they get older and they increase their ability to go outside, empty their business, and then hold it increasingly longer without needing any kind of confinement or small spaces to tap into their instincts to wait till they're outside and have more space to do it. I do have many podcast episodes that go in depth on potty training. Sorry there, had a brain cloud, house-breaking potty training. I would recommend listening to them. I give some pretty good info. They may be helpful, but nonetheless, no pee pads unless you have an incontinent dog, an old dog that can't hold their business anymore. That's a different story. And then shouldn't be crated. That's just complete and utter nonsense. If your dog doesn't like the crate, it's because you're projecting it onto them, or you're over-empowering them and letting them feel so out of control and free when they're not in the crate that the rules that the crate represents are just such a contrast to their general state of affairs around you. They protest because they feel like they always have to be where the action is, and that's a dog that has too much control around humans. And that's really comes back to every issue you can imagine. And I talk about this endlessly as far as creating structure for your dog, introducing them to the crate early so they can get acclimated to it and used to it, not seeing confinement as a negative, as more of a place where they can relax, be sensory deprived, have their own space, and be out of the beaten path of life once in a while. And of course, it is the most efficient tool for potty training, and I really can't imagine doing it properly without something like a crate to help facilitate a dog's ability to hold it when they're inside. And then when you build this, then your house becomes the crate. But anyway, the crate is really just an emotional block that people have. It's something that I really, it's not mean, it's not abuse, it's just people's own things, or again, why I'm doing a podcast like this today, it's the nonsense they read online that makes them feel that it's going to do something bad to their puppy, where on the contrary, it's actually going to help them feel safe, secure, and not invoke some kind of panic response when you have to put them in some kind of confinement, let's say a year or two from now, for whatever reasons. You may travel, they may have to go to kennel, to a vet, and your dog wasn't acclimated because your emotions blocked you from doing what's best for them, and now it's doing them a disservice later in life. Okay, so get over your bullshit with dogs shouldn't be crated. That's complete nonsense. And anywhere where you read that that is the case, you're getting complete misinformation that is actually dangerous to the well-being of dogs. Okay, puppies should be fully vaccinated before going outside or meeting other dogs. This is another one I see. I walk into houses sometimes where the owners have booties where you don't even want to, they don't even want the inside, the outside inside. That to me is a little overdone. And I tell people, you're not supposed to take your dog to some random dog park until they're fully vaccinated. I don't like dog parks as it is. But you definitely should do skillful and rational socialization. Find other environments like other houses, spaces where puppies meet, or where there's other well-behaved vaccinated dogs they can get imprinted to early and have interactions with. Getting them to go outside for potty reasons and just to experience the outdoor world, even if it's just one location in your front and backyard. Do not hold your dog up until they're 4 months old before you start giving them outdoor exposure and even more importantly, socializing them to other people, the world, and other dogs. Really, it's why I'm busy. There's a lot of dogs that didn't get this early enough, and now we're doing the rehab work later on in life. All right, this one's close to my heart. Only dogs of same size and breed should interact. That's complete nonsense too. I have a 4-pound Yorkie and a 115-pound Rottweiler. They coexist we've had for 4 years together. Never an issue. They sleep together. I leave them alone. They eat together. You just get dogs to be socialized, balanced, well-behaved, have spatial awareness, don't have any issues that would create some kind of fight. Because the problem would be if there was a rift between the two dogs, the disparity in size. Disparity? I don't know. Who knows? I'm trying to use good language. Discrepancy. That's it. The discrepancy. I got it, guys. The discrepancy in size. That could be an issue. But if you have balanced dogs that get along, and I understand that's why they have little dogs in big dog parks, but if you have a little dog, get them around some big dogs. You got a big dog, get them around some little dogs. And if you do it early, that's all they know. Dogs are dogs. That's why my Rottweiler is good, because I had him around all types of dogs as a pup. He just sees a dog as a dog. What's your deal? What's your relation to me? How are we going to connect? I don't care how big or little you are. You're just like me. That's how dogs should see it with each other. All right. You can't teach a young puppy commands, use leash, or expect them to stay until they are mature. Well, that was the first part of this. We start training 4 to 6 months. That's nonsense. I do it every day. I get 8-week-old puppies as new clients often, and I know with my own eyes, and the dogs can learn how to sit, even if it's 30 seconds. And yes, you should introduce them to the leash day one. Many issues come from a dog not understanding what a leash is, and then they don't know how to be led, and then they start resisting and fighting, and then you're working through that. And it leads to a lot of other issues where dogs start fighting the leash, getting reactivity because they don't like the intervention with the leash when we see dogs, and all these other things. So you absolutely should start teaching them commands, shaping the behaviors, using treats because you have to teach, and getting them used to holding their position, and of course feeling the leash, just wearing it, even just doing a leash drag for a week or two. Start early. These are things you should not be holding off on. You're not going to traumatize your dog. This is what these people who give you this information online are trying to scare you into avoiding, is doing the work that are going to build these dogs up to be solid dogs that are balanced, happy, content, and don't have behavioral issues. And all the information they're giving you is to create them. It's insane. Anyway, sorry. It really bothers me. I just see it and hear it all goddamn day. All right. You shouldn't correct a puppy for bad behaviors. That's also nonsense. And you're not punishing a dog. You're not using a dumb bonker or yelling at them. But there's consequences. If you bite on me, I'm gonna show you to redirect that into something that's appropriate, biting a toy, or I'll spray you with bitter apple. I'll put it on my finger. If you bite the leash, I'm going to take it out of your mouth. If you get into mischief, I'm going to say the word no to you. These are all not taboo things. We're not running around with a switch, like Colonel Conrad Most back in the day. It's just teaching and showing that something is wrong and what is right as a contrast is not negative criticism. Like everyone in this goddamn world is so afraid of hearing their own truth so they can grow. Dogs are not like this. And the only people who are putting this shit information out there are people who can't hear their own truth and they project it onto animals. That's all this is coming from. It's a weird world we live in, folks. But yes, you can correct a puppy for bad behaviors if you're doing it skillfully and consciously. It's actually the best thing to do so they don't get themselves hurt in the process because you're afraid to tell them no. All right, this is another big one for me. Biting and mouthing, it's just teething. No, it's not. Teething is when they're chewing furniture. Even if most puppies, they have a high pain threshold. It takes a lot for them to just start reacting to the growing of their teeth. It's really an oral fixation. It's the way dogs are biting each other constantly when they're playing, especially puppies. They're just trying to create order and control the other party. And it's like a little tick-for-tack game they're playing. But as soon as they start doing it for humans, it opens up the window to too many other things that they can feel responsible for. And quite frankly, a dog should learn right away you don't put your mouth on humans. I don't care what the context is, you don't do that. So that's something that has to be addressed. And most dogs are biting our feet, our hands, our clothing, our hair, our leash. Why? Because they're extremities that project from us, and that's what dogs really do when they're biting each other's ears, feet, fur, and necks. They want to control and herd one another, and we cannot allow this, or it puts them in a position of being able to control humans, reacting too strongly and getting overstimulated, which the biting is a lot of them getting revved up and trying to modulate their energy through that control, and that becomes way too overwhelming for them. And the excuse making just never addresses it. So again, let's see it for what it is. It's not just teething and biting if they're doing it to you. It's a need for control, and the sooner you recognize it at face value, the sooner it's not going to happen anymore. One of the first behaviors to solve with puppies when you start training and creating boundaries is the biting, because it just doesn't make sense for them to try it. Put a puppy around an older, mature dog that doesn't take any shit, they're not biting that dog right away. They just sense it. So I think we can project a little bit more of that towards our pups too, and you're not abusing them by being passive too. By not being passive to these behaviors. All right, we're almost at the home stretch here, guys. Exercise is bad for their bones and joints. Now, you don't want to be running marathons on pavement, but they can romp and play in dirt or grass. You can do walks on cement. You can divvy out your exercise in small doses, so maybe you don't do an hour straight. But yes, you want to get movement going. Exercise is good for puppies, but you don't want to Cupid doll them. This is, again, what so many people do. They safe space their dogs even physically. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend your puppy just be jumping on and off of the bed. I wouldn't, but there's really this like, oh my God, this poor fragile puppy. These dogs are a lot hardier than you think. So be skillful, just like the socialization. Think through what you're doing, but don't avoid out of complete fear because your dog's going to miss out. And those walks you're taking may help with socialization. So rational exercise, rational socialization, and it's just good for your dog and good for you. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm in traffic. It's raining. I'm doing my best to focus here, and it's also very early in the morning, so I'm trying to stay lively for you, but that's when I'm getting some brain clouds. Hope this all makes sense. I think it does. All right, and just another point I made. Puppies are fragile, made of glass. I think I said my piece on this. No, they're not. They're a lot hardier than you think, and they actually do like more rough and tumble as long as you're being reasonable. You can fluff them around and shake them up and play with them rough on the floor. That's all great. Don't just baby them and put them in a bassinet and shh mode around them. Right? It's insane. And it has a small dose of narcissism if you're doing this towards everyone with your own new puppy. So check yourself if you're overly safe spacing and bubble wrapping your new pup. Okay, and the last thing I have here, I think, a dog's breed dictates its personality / behaviors, good and bad. Example I put is boxers will jump. So certain breeds do have more of a potential to do certain behaviors based on what's bred into them, but it's not an excuse. It's like the biting. Okay, you have a boxer, it likes to get its legs up there. Did you teach it that was okay and cute and encouraged it? Did you reward it? Did you allow it? Did you ignore it and not redirect it? So if your dog is having a problem, it's like, okay, it's a little harder for you, or you have more of the potential. You're still a dog. You can still learn good habits and manners. It's just up to you to not make an excuse and do the work. So if your boxer jumps, teach the boxer to sit instead of jumping. Teach him not to jump, right? There's a lot of you people I know. I see the little comments that come on YouTube. So it's like, I get them, little snide things. I don't really like to respond, but I'll respond here. People are trying to tell me that I talk a lot about what the philosophy is, but I don't give, well, what am I supposed to do about it? What's the solution? And I do. I have plenty of podcasts where I just break down logistically. I've got countless videos demonstrating. I had a 12-episode show demonstrating. I did my own web series a few years before that demonstrating. But yeah, so maybe if you take the philosophy, I think that would, for anyone with half a brain, I think it would actually, you'd be able to put the pieces together and be able to apply what I'm explaining in these episodes, where it may seem philosophical and I'm just talking about my experience and what is going on versus what maybe we interpret, and then through that understanding of what's going on, you'll probably take a lot of the right training steps. And I do have, again, place training episodes and the recall episode I just did that gives step-by-step instructions. both orally and then I have videos that demonstrates it. But nonetheless, I just wanted to address that, which sometimes I don't because there's so many shit comments. I can do episodes just reading them and responding to them. But if one of you people are one of those ones that is probably doing absolutely nothing in the dog training world and you want to have a comment, you know, you can send me an email with a real question and not have to grandstand yourself and show people how you're so clever with your little wise ass comment about something that you have not a clue that you're talking about. Because if you read all the other comments, most people are like, wow, this helped me, this makes sense. Yeah, I'm a client of Brett's, I've used this and it's worked in the real world, right? That's reality. Your interpretation of it, you might want to look within and see. So yeah, it's annoying. I don't like those notifications coming into my email. I have to see them. Usually it's idiots who at like 3 in the morning are high or some shit and they decide they get a whim that they want to put this out, you know, oh, I'm funny. I'm telling this dog trainer thinks he knows his stuff. I'm going to let him know what I think. I'm going to show him. Yeah, are you going to show me? Okay. While I'm here at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, I have a full weekend of new clients booked because of my reputation in the real world. All right, anyway, so thanks, everyone. Take these points I'm making, you know, to how you may. It does work when you apply it. And then for all of you, again, don't forget to rate, review, send me your feedback, send me your questions. I like questions. You have a problem with me, send me an email. Call me. I'd rather chat with you like a human being, like a grown adult, instead of see a little baby comment online because you want to get the attention on social media, do you? Well, you're not going to get it from me that way. So contact me directly. Show up at my front door. We'll talk about it. Come to my group classes. I love it. I'd love to put you in the arena and show you what's really going on. I can guarantee you would not say a thing that you would be so willing to say on the internet. Okay, rant over. Let's do this. All right, so let's finish up. It's been episode 71, Puppy Training Myths. Thanks again to everyone who's been listening. Happy holidays. If I don't put another episode out before Christmas, I will try to. It's about early December now. But again, thanks to everyone who's been listening, subscribing, reviewing, giving me your feedback. That's why I do this. Have a great day, everyone.